So hello all, thank you for joining me for today's webinar on who's protecting your Laserfiche 24-hour monitoring from CDI, where we'll be exploring network and system monitoring with a program called Covalence. So a few standard housekeeping items. All participants will be muted for the duration of the webinar. However, if you have some questions throughout, please type them into the chat and we'll address them after the presentation is done. Today on the line with me, I do have Steve Flater, our Global Cloud Operations Director, and Steve is here to assist me with any questions that get technical. So feel free to grill him with all you've got as we go through today's presentation. Additionally, I did upload a Covalence brochure, so if you're interested in downloading that, definitely click on the handout section and download that for your own pleasure. So on our agenda today, we are going to go through some key terminology. I feel like in IT, everything has an acronym. So we're going to go through some of those. We're going to talk about who Field Effect is, more about their Covalence solution, why it's important, and who should be taking advantage of the solutions being offered. Also, if you have kids, here are some fun, popular social media acronyms that might be useful for you. I know I learned a couple when I found this, like the FBF, Flashback Friday. Seems really obvious, but you know, I didn't know it. So what is MDR? MDR is Managed Detection and Response. It's an outsourced service that provides organizations with threat hunting services and responds to those threats the moment they're discovered. EDR stands for Endpoint Detection Response. This provides threat detection on end user devices such as desktops or laptops, computers, or mobile devices, things like that. The Field Effect Covalence solution that we're going to be going through today takes a hybrid approach and combines the MDR and EDR into a single solution offering for clients protection across all endpoints, networks, and cloud workloads. Another term we're going to go through is ARO, which is the type of reporting that the Covalence system provides. There are three main sections: action, response, and observations. Every threat is picked up and pushed into one of these three categories to help you focus on what is most important and creates a roadmap of things you may need to change in the future. I'll be showing a few screenshots and examples of that later. So who is Field Effect? Field Effect was established in 2016. They built their solution on two foundational principles. One is that everyone should have access to exceptional cybersecurity, and the second being that users shouldn't need a deep cyber expertise to be protected. These principles really resonated with me when I first started learning about the MDR and Covalence solution. Most people manage a regular workload with their daily activities and don't have endless hours of time and money to dump into learning and making sure that they have a safe network. And so this is really where Covalence can step in. We're going to start off talking a little bit about cyber attacks. I think by now, if you've had any exposure to any news outlets, you've probably heard increasingly more and more about cyber attacks. Cyber attacks generally fall into one of these three general types: propaganda or information attacks. This is something like maybe somebody getting access to your website and changing the language or adding some type of advertisement, all throughout the text in your page. That's a common one. Espionage. This is where they might secretly be collecting information on the back end and just using it for, whatever they might want to be using it for. And then sabotage. With sabotage, what the hackers are doing is ransomware attacks, and they're extorting organizations for money in order to get their data back. Sometimes the hackers will extort organizations and threaten to release the information online or on the dark web unless they get payment. And even if organizations do pay, sometimes the hackers will still even release that information after getting payment. It's pretty scary. So just imagine, I'm thinking about a lot of the, financial firms or government clients that we have. they're archiving all of their client paperwork and tons of PII information or personally identifiable information within Laserfiche. Then their firm gets hacked and all of that information is being dangled over a cliff for the world to see. These types of ransomware hacks have closed businesses and ruined reputations. So most businesses are ill-equipped to address these threats. That's where Covalence really comes into play. It assists with monitoring abnormal activity to notify your team of any potential threats. So how do cyber attacks work? Here we're looking at the MITRE attack framework for how these cyber attacks evolve. If you're not really familiar with the MITRE attack framework, it's a curated knowledge base model used to study adversary behavior of threat or malicious actors or hackers. As we look at this chart, a hacker progresses through each point of the attack, and as they do, their risk of being detected increases as well. For example, they gain initial access. They move from one host to another within a network. They launch a payload, which is a script or something naughty, onto your system. Each of these steps is another opportunity for Covalence to pick up the scent and stop the hacker in their tracks. Here are the most frequent access points to hackers. A lot of times they will gain access to systems via phishing attempts, and that might be through an email or a text or downloads. Sometimes they will even go through your social media accounts and try and phish you and get you to click on links. Another common initial access point is unpatched, misconfigured, or unmonitored infrastructure. So if you're an organization that might maintain multiple servers and endpoints to manage and have multiple endpoints to manage, sometimes things can get forgotten. So maybe you forget to install that Microsoft patch, or your Microsoft SQL needs to move off of 2012 onto 2016 or whatever it is. Those things take time. And then finally, we have the zero-day exploitation. These are the bugs that may be found in distributors' software, which attackers are finding and exploiting. So, I know that there's a lot of them out there, but, somebody puts out a software code and then hackers find a bug in that code and exploit it and can gain access to your system that way. So I included a couple of phishing samples that I just kind of wanted to go through and just things that you should be watching for. A lot of times if there's a call to action, so to speak, and you're not expecting it, it's always best to pick up the phone and call and verify, or go directly to the website that's asking you to change your password and see if any action really needs to be taken. Don't click on links in suspicious emails. Another thing to watch for is spelling errors. Here we have some strange spelling errors down at the bottom. This is always a really good indicator that, this might not be a legit email. So definitely watch for spelling errors, take a look at the emails, always hover over those links to see if it is really directing you to where it says it's directing you. Hackers can also get really sneaky. So we received this one internally. It's a hacker posing as a DocuSign envelope completion, which this looks pretty similar. I mean, the colors, the bright yellow button to download your documents. And if we were to have clicked that, it would have, installed whatever on our computer. So definitely, if you're not expecting an attachment, be sure to connect with the organization who is sending you that email or who you're receiving it from, and double check with them. So you might be asking yourself, how do I better protect my data? Well, cybersecurity starts with cyber situational awareness. You can't protect what you can't see, so it's all about knowing your network, what's internet facing, what applications are installed. Knowing your threats, who your attackers are, and knowing how to respond to those threats. So some organizations might be thinking, well, we've got antivirus, we're good. That's not completely accurate. So antivirus is built on known bad database codes, but threat actors and hackers cheat and find ways to pass through those. As operating systems continue to evolve, so do APIs, and it's hard for the antivirus to keep up. So what does work is knowing the system and seeing the standard behaviors and focusing on the anomalies. That's exactly what Covalence does. It's one of the most sophisticated cyber threat monitoring tools out there, and it's made simple for every organization, and it's scalable to every size organization as well. Covalence provides active detection against devices, IT network activity, and cloud services, no matter where they are across the world. When a threat is detected, the proprietary ARO reporting built by Field Effect provides notification and transparency on the threat and recommends steps for resolution. Covalence brings insight to you, providing contextualized reporting. ARO stands for that action required recommendation and observation. So if an account is compromised, they can set a notification to required action. Recommendation is important, but not urgent. And the observation is a lower priority notification that could have security implications later on. So something that you should check out, but doesn't need immediate action. So let's focus on how the Covalence system is set up. This screenshot focuses on a single office environment. I did mention earlier that Covalence is a scalable tool, so this does work in offices that have multiple locations, many servers, many devices. It's very scalable. So at the office, there are wired and wireless devices connected to a network. Then they go out to the internet. There may also be cloud services in place for providing storage or computing services or solutions. We begin by putting the DNS firewall in place. This piece allows us to focus on less predictable threats like zero-day attacks or people roaming your network for weak spots. Then we install a Covalence network sensor. This works like a video camera that monitors people coming and going from your office. All traffic is stored in PCAP format, which allows us to search the information quickly, to pinpoint details, and allows us access to go back and find the source if there's an issue. Once the network sensor is configured, we set up cloud services monitoring to gather more data alongside the network traffic. Then we'll install endpoint agents against desktops, laptops, servers, and any other devices, mobile devices. These endpoint agents provide daily monitoring of software operating systems. Another great thing with this endpoint monitoring tool is that it automatically updates. And if you have to install it on a new computer, but the agent is out of date, it won't let you install it. So it always makes you and ensures that you're installing the latest version of the installer. So as you can see, from this, Covalence really monitors every aspect of your environment. And then once it's installed, you're protected. I did also include a helpful video from Covalence directly that you can link to here. So what does the ARO reporting look like once Covalence is installed? So these next few slides are just some pictures and screenshots of the Covalence system. Reporting, email notifications, and dashboard. I think my mouse is losing batteries. Here's an example of an installed network sensor. You could always opt for a virtual appliance sensor instead. But if you go with a virtual sensor, there are some pieces that differ from an installed network sensor. But it's just a box that you install. And then once it's installed, you'll be able to see, and all of your end users will be able to see this little Covalence icon letting you know that it has been installed. So administrators, once everything is installed and set up, would have access to this dashboard. This dashboard gives you a view of your status, of your network status of your network installation, status of your cloud system, endpoint counts and how many devices you have the agent installed on, the status of your DNS firewall, how many open or pending AROs you have that need resolutions. Essentially everything is available to you here on this dashboard, and it's interactive as well. So from the dashboard, you can look into service issues that were reported. You can also self-resolve those or communicate a service ticket with the field effect team who's available 24/7 to help with resolutions. Part of the value offered with the Covalent system is that you have access to technical experts 24/7. They are there always monitoring the system, always monitoring and watching for anomalies within your system and notifying you of what's happening. So they can assist you with questions and make recommendations as needed. Screen here is the network traffic status screen. It represents the total traffic levels. The chart helps you identify anomalies by letting you know traffic has increased during a specific time frame. So you can just track who's hitting your network, at any time. This screen is showing us a source of where the AROs are being reported. So here, there are some login anomalies. So it's just displaying the source of where top threats could be coming from. Also, this is kind of fun to watch if you have remote employees or staff that travels. You can always see where your staff is logging in from, if they're logging in and they're out of the country. So that's kind of fun. Here's an example of the ARO email notification that goes out. The items in blue on the email are hyperlinks, and so when they're clicked, it brings you and provides you additional information and allows you the ability to resolve the issue. So all of the issues are also logged for future reference as needed. So something amazing about the Covalent system is that it can be set up so that when a specific threat is found, or ARO, it can automatically shut that computer down and disconnect it from the network, which stops hackers in their place. Then you can use the information collected from the network sensor to track how the hacker got access to the system and remediate the situation. Here is just a screenshot on the support home. Something I think that's really amazing about the Covalent application is that you have the ability to interact with this dashboard. Every person that we have talked to or had questions with has been super helpful for our team, and they respond very quickly. And you can also get access to knowledge base articles and community forums and things like that to ask your questions and seek advice. A few more screenshots on that, creating a sport ticket. This is just another resource for their training that's available through the dashboard. So just things you can click on and dig into. Here we are looking at the weekly reports that automatically get emailed. Monthly report notifications go out and you can click the links to access it. So let's note the 1002 security events that are in your system. Covalent filters out the important stuff from the weeds and notifies you of the things that you really need to take action on. So even though you had 1002 security events, you're not actually getting 1002 email notifications. It's compiling them and giving you the ones that you really need to take action on. And then this is just a continuation of the weekly report. So this is going over, where authorization attempts are coming from, suspicious email analysis, data flow, how much data is inbound and outbound. Again, just tracking and letting you know, where you stand from the week prior, helping you stay in touch. So who should be using Covalent? Well, I think Gary Oldman really says it best. Everyone. Antivirus is not enough. everyone needs a partner to actively monitor your network because no one person can do it along with all of their other job opportunities. Covalence is definitely a great enhancement for your network team. So here's a couple of Covalence highlights from case studies, which you can always go to Field Effect and check out some of their case studies for organizations of your type, whether it's financial, government, manufacturing. They've got case studies of all kinds that you can take a look at. But some of the core highlights that we found is the advanced reporting and ARO notifications, always tracking the network for vulnerabilities and vulnerable software. So again, any of your software patches that are out of date, things like that, it's tracking and notifying you so you can take action on them. Make system-wide network security really easy. Again, it's hard to employ, for most organizations, it's hard to employ somebody full-time, 24 hours a day to be monitoring your network access. And so that's why Covalence can really help and extend the IT administration for your team. For some organizations, they found that bringing Covalence on board is cheaper than hiring an actual IT team. So it can really be a great extension of your IT security. So that went a lot faster than I thought it would. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. Remember, I do have Steve on the line here. So Steve has done IT administration for both county and private organizations with lots of technical expertise. So don't hesitate to grill him with your questions. Additionally, while those kind of funnel in, I'm going to launch a poll. Just wondering if users are interested in learning more, seeing a maybe live demo, potentially getting pricing. Definitely let us know. We're happy to have more of a one-on-one conversation, see how Covalence can fit into your organization and IT administration. All right, so we do have a question. Is this an integration with Laserfiche or just an overall security system? I'm not understanding how this specifically interacts with Laserfiche. So that's a great question. Laserfiche is a software installed within your network. And if a hacker or a bad actor gets onto your network, they're also gaining access to all of your Laserfiche system. So the Covalence system is a overall security monitoring system, and it's not actually an integration with Laserfiche, but it's a tool that helps keep the information in your Laserfiche system safe, as well as all of the other documentation within your organization. All right, doesn't look like we have too many other questions. So I think we'll close it out here. We do have another webinar coming up on July 13th, where you can learn about how to build an employee offboarding process through Laserfiche forms that generates paperwork and files it into the employee's record. But for everybody who joined today, I appreciate your time and thank you for joining the webinar, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need any additional assistance.